Picture this. You're looking at a map of the world, right? And you zero in on a population of roughly 4 million people.
Which is really not a lot of people at all.
No, not at all. I mean, usually when you're talking about a group that size, you're talking about a decently sized metropolitan area.
Exactly.
You could take the entire population of this nation and they would fit into New York City twice over, with plenty of room to spare, honestly.
It's basically a microscopic footprint on the global sporting map.
Right. But today is Thursday, June 11th, 2026. The 2026 FIFA World Cup kicks off literally today across North America, and that tiny nation is stepping onto the sport's biggest, most unforgiving stage.
And they aren't just arriving as, like, some plucky underdog hoping for a group stage miracle.
Exactly. They're arriving as a modern titan of the game. We are, of course, talking about Croatia. I mean, this is a team that took second place in the world in 2018.
And then third place in 2022.
It's insane. They are actively defying every single law of probability and economics that dictates how international sports are supposed to work.
It truly is a statistical anomaly. It's something sports economists have spent years trying to decode.
I bet.
Because when you look at the raw demographics, the sheer size of their talent pool compared to the footballing giants, they routinely eliminate.
Like Brazil or England.
Right. Nations with tens of millions of registered players. It just shouldn't be possible. The financial resources are just a fraction of what the powerhouse nations possess.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense on paper. And yet, here they are again, preparing to navigate a brutal group stage, carrying the expectations of a giant.
It's going to be fascinating to watch.
It really is. And that is exactly what we're here to figure out today. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here for this one.
Our mission today for you listening is super clear. We've been combing through a massive stack of tactical analyses, betting data, team profiles, and historical Wikipedia deep dives to completely deconstruct the 2026 Croatian national football team.
We really want to find out exactly how this tiny nation continually defies the odds.
Right, and what their specific tactical engine looks like for this North American tournament. Plus, whether they can survive the absolute gauntlet that is Group L.
It is not an easy group.
No, it's not. Okay, let's unpack this. Before we even look at a tactical chalkboard or, talk about formations, we have to talk about the psychology of this team.
Oh, absolutely.
Because everything I'm seeing in these analyses suggests their on-pitch resilience isn't just about pure talent. It is inextricably tied to a very specific cultural identity.
That's honestly the perfect place to start. If you don't understand the psychology of this team, their tactics flat out won't make sense to you.
Really?
Yeah, you have to look at the two cultural monikers that define them. First, you have Vitreni.
Which translates to the Blazers.
Exactly. It's meant to symbolize this fiery, almost unquenchable competitive spirit.
Yeah.
And then you have Kakusti.
The checkered ones.
Right.
The visuals of that are so strong. I mean, if you are watching this tournament at home, you know exactly who Croatia is the second you turn on your television.
Oh, there's no mistaking them.
They wear those iconic red and white checkerboard kits. The Shahovnica, Nike has been making these kits for them since the turn of the century, and for 2026, they haven't strayed from the formula at all.
Why fix what isn't broken?
Exactly. The checkerboard reigns supreme on both the home and away jerseys. And the fan culture surrounding those shirts is just intense.
It's practically a religion. You have the official fan club, Uvijek Vjerni, which translates to always faithful.
Right. And plus, you have this massive diaspora support expected to flood into North America for this tournament. People traveling from the States, Canada, Australia, South America.
The crowds are going to be wild. When you're watching, you have to listen for the stadium chants.
Oh, the U-Boj one.
Yeah. One side of the stadium screams, U-Boj, why? Which means to battle, and the other side responds. It's incredibly intimidating for the opposition.
I look at it almost like a psychological anchor for the players, like a superhero cape. When these guys put that checkerboard on, they just seem to elevate.
They absolutely do.
They play with a cohesion and a desperation that you rarely see from them week in and week out at their respective club teams. But I have to ask you, is that Vitreni spirit just a romantic narrative we tell ourselves?
Because we love an underdog story.
Yeah. Or is there an actual measurable edge here?
What's really fascinating here is that it is absolutely measurable. That fiery spirit isn't just raw, chaotic passion.
Okay.
It translates directly into a quantifiable psychological resilience under extreme duress. The historical data completely proves it. They are the undeniable, undisputed penalty shootout kings of the World Cup.
Wait, the Kings. Let's look at the numbers.
Look at the records they hold. Most penalty shootouts played in tournament history, which is 4. Most penalty shootouts won, also 4.
They've literally never lost one.
Never. And they hold the record for the most penalties saved in a shootout, which is 3.
That is just wild.
Now let's think about the actual mechanics of a penalty shootout. You are walking alone from the center circle to the penalty spot. 1 billion people are watching on television.
Your entire nation's hopes are just resting on your next kick. That is the ultimate high-pressure environment.
Exactly. It's not about fitness at that point. It's entirely mental.
Yeah, winning 4 out of 4 shootouts doesn't happen by accident.
And it certainly doesn't happen just because you are passionate. I mean, passion gets you a yellow card for a reckless tackle in the 12th minute.
Right, passion is chaotic.
What wins a shootout is elite emotional regulation. It's the ability to control your breathing, to deliberately delay the kick, to make the goalkeeper move first, to just block out the noise of the stadium.
It's ice in the veins.
It happens because they have an elite level of composure when other teams, often teams with much larger talent pools and way more media pressure, simply crumble under the weight of expectation.
I always think about that walk to the spot you just mentioned. Like the English players, the Brazilian players, you can physically see the tension in their shoulders.
Oh, they look terrified.
Yeah.
They're carrying the weight of decades of media scrutiny.
But the Croatian players almost look serene. And that psychological composure, that sheer refusal to panic, it seems to be the bedrock of their actual tactical setup too, right?
Absolutely. It bleeds right into how they play the game.
Because they don't play frantic football. They play a very specific, deliberate style under their longtime manager, Zlatko Dalic, who, by the way, has been in charge since 2017.
Which is practically a lifetime ago in international football.
Curiously, in the modern era where managers get fired after one bad qualifying window, 2017 is an eternity.
Dalic's longevity is a total masterclass in man management and system building. When he took over the team late in 2017, they were talented but super disjointed.
Right.
He figured out how to make them significantly greater than the sum of their parts. Tactically, if you are looking at the pre-match graphics on TV, you will usually see them line up in a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 formation.
Okay, pretty standard shapes.
But the shape on the graphic is way less important than the underlying philosophy. Their primary strategy is built entirely on elite midfield technical dominance.
So it's all about the center of the park.
Completely. Their goal isn't just to score. Their goal is to dictate the flow and temperature of the entire game. They do this by starving their opponents of the ball through highly precise short and medium passing networks.
So they essentially use ball possession as a defensive tool.
Exactly. Keep the ball, and the other team can't hurt you.
Let's really dig into that idea of possession as defense, because the tactical analyses point out something very interesting about how they press, or rather how they don't press.
Right, they are very unique in that regard.
If you watch modern club football, say watching Arsenal or Liverpool or Bayern Munich, you are used to seeing a relentless high-intensity press, players sprinting around like maniacs the second they lose the ball.
Heavy metal football.
Exactly. Croatia does not do that. They use what analysts call a selective pressing scheme. They only trigger a concerted team press when an opponent plays a backward pass or a lateral pass near the touchline.
It's very calculated.
But I have to push back on this a little bit because it sounds incredibly risky. In a modern era that is totally obsessed with high-intensity, heavy metal football, isn't playing a slow, selective press just inviting faster, younger teams to run right through your midfield?
That is the exact risk.
Yeah.
And it raises a really important question about how they actually survive against younger legs.
Because they have some older guys in there.
A lot of older guys. But you have to understand that this selective press isn't born out of laziness or a lack of modern tactical awareness. It is a highly deliberate survival mechanism.
Okay, how so?
Dalic knows his personnel intimately. He knows he absolutely cannot ask a midfield of 30-somethings to play like a frantic Jurgen Klopp team. They'd be gassed in 20 minutes.
Right, of course.
So how do they survive? The answer lies in the mechanics of press resistance.
Okay, we hear that term all the time in football media, press resistant. What does that actually look like mechanically on the pitch for you as a viewer?
Mechanically, a press-resistant midfielder is someone who can receive the ball while surrounded by 2 or 3 opponents and just not lose it.
Which sounds easier said than done.
Oh, it's incredibly difficult. It involves a few key physical and mental traits. First, it's about scanning. looking over your shoulder constantly before the ball even arrives, so you have a mental map of where the defenders are.
Right, gathering data before the touch.
Second, it's body positioning. It's using a low center of gravity to shield the ball, taking your first touch away from the momentum of the incoming defender, and using tiny, subtle drops of the shoulder to unbalance the opponent.
So they invite the pressure and then just roll past it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By using these incredibly press-resistant midfielders, Croatia intentionally decelerates the game. They dictate the rhythm.
Interesting.
If the opponent wants a fast, chaotic transition game, Croatia's midfielders will just hold on to the ball, take a few extra touches, draw a foul, or play a safe lateral pass to physically slow the heartbeat of the match down.
They're essentially taking the air out of the ball.
Totally. And this protects their older, veteran central players from sheer exhaustion. If you are 37 or 40 years old, you cannot physically engage in a 90-minute track meet.
You will tear a hamstring or just collapse on the field.
Literally. So they control the tempo centrally, suffocating the chaos. Then to actually attack, they generate their width using their fullbacks.
Okay, let's talk about the fullbacks. Look closely at players like Joko Gvardiol on the left or Josip Stanisic on the right. When Croatia has the ball, those fullbacks push incredibly high up the touchlines.
They almost act like wingers.
Which changes the entire geometry of the pitch, right?
Precisely. Because those fullbacks push so high and wide, the opposing wingers are forced to track them back. That movement stretches the opposing defense horizontally.
It opens up the middle.
Yes. And because the width is provided by the fullbacks, Croatia's nominal wide forwards, the guys playing on the wings in that 4-3-3, are totally free to drift inside toward the center of the pitch.
Creating overloads.
Massive numerical overloads in the middle. Suddenly, it's 4 or 5 Croatian players against 3 opposing midfielders.
Yeah.
They quite literally choke you out with numbers and technique.
And we have hard data on exactly what happens when Dalic tries to abandon that trusted four-man defensive system. The tactical analysts highlighted a specific friendly match from just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, the Belgium game.
Yeah, June 2nd, 2026, against Belgium. Dalic decided to experiment. He threw out the 4-3-3 and deployed a 3-4-2-1 formation, 3 at the back. And it failed miserably. They were totally disjointed and lost 2-0. What went wrong there, mechanically?
It was a vital, albeit painful data point for them. That experimental 3-man defensive system completely exposed them in transition.
Because of the whip.
Right. Think about the mechanics of a 3-4-2-1. Your width comes from wingbacks, not fullbacks. Wingbacks are expected to be even higher up the pitch.
Ah, I see.
So when Belgium won the ball back and launched a counterattack, the Croatian wingbacks were caught deep in the Belgian half. That left only 3 central defenders to cover the entire width of the pitch.
Which is an impossible amount of ground to cover.
Belgium just exploited those massive wide channels. And because the Croatian central midfielders are older, they couldn't sprint back 60 yards fast enough to cover the gaps. It caused catastrophic structural vulnerabilities.
It sounds like they basically removed the safety net that allows their slow-paced possession game to work in the first place.
That's exactly what happened.
But to Dalic's credit, he didn't stubbornly stick to his experiment. He recognized the failure immediately. He reverted right back to their trusted 4-3-3 just days later for their final warm-up match against Slovenia on June 7th.
And they look much more stable, securing a 2-1 win.
It seems to have proven once and for all that this team relies absolutely on the structural security of a 4-man backline to function.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it tells you that Dalic is pragmatic. He isn't married to an ideology. He is married to what works for the specific bodies he has in the dressing room.
And he knows those bodies need protection, which perfectly sets up the massive elephant in the room for this deep dive.
Physical limitations.
We have to talk about the physical vulnerabilities of this squad because they are glaring. Think about the reality of tournament football in the North American summer.
It is going to be brutal.
We aren't talking about playing a breezy evening match in London. We are talking about afternoon kickoffs in sweltering heat, extreme humidity, in stadiums across Texas and the East Coast.
A physical nightmare.
And this squad is aging. Their captain, their absolute talisman, Luka Modric, is 40 years old. Their clutch, big-game winger, Ivan Perisic, is 37.
As a viewer, it's honestly terrifying to think about the physical demands of a potential 7-game tournament on players at that stage of their careers.
Seriously.
It is the single biggest physiological barrier they face. You simply cannot ignore the limitations of human biology, especially in a tournament that demands travel across multiple time zones, shifting climates, and playing a match every 4 or 5 days.
Recovery time just plummets.
It does. And this aging core exacerbates their second major tactical weakness, which the data clearly highlights.
The striker issue.
Right. They lack an elite explosive number 9. They do not have a true dynamic center forward.
Let's unpack the striker situation because it's fascinating. The profiles show that Andrej Kramaric is their main guy up top. Now, he is a fantastic clinical finisher.
Absolutely lethal in the box.
He was actually their top scorer in qualifying with 6 goals, and he has over 35 goals overall for the national team. He knows where the net is. But mechanically, he isn't a dynamic vertical runner.
No, not at all.
He isn't going to receive the ball at the halfway line, put his head down, and outsprint a defender for 40 yards to stretch the opposition's defensive line deep.
Exactly. Kramaric is more of a link-up forward. He likes to drop deep into the midfield to help with that possession game we talked about.
Right. And their other primary option is Ante Budimir, who is a fantastic aerial target, especially for crosses coming in from those fullbacks.
But he could be quite static. He's a traditional target man.
So what happens when you don't have an explosive, pacey striker?
The opposing defensive line doesn't have to worry about getting beaten over the top by a through ball. Because they aren't scared of the space behind them, the opposing defenders can push much higher up the pitch.
Which compresses the whole field.
Yes, it compresses the midfield. Suddenly, that space that Modric and the midfielders want to use to dictate the game just vanishes.
So without that explosive striker to keep the defense honest, their whole attack can look a bit slow, incredibly methodical, and they become overly reliant on set pieces, corner kicks, free kicks to actually score goals.
This raises an important point about compounding vulnerabilities. You have a lack of pace up front, meaning you can't push the opponent deep. You have older central midfielders who absolutely need to control the ball to survive.
And fullbacks pushing aggressively high to provide the width.
Right. Imagine you're playing against them. What do? You sit deep, you wait for them to push their fullbacks up, you intercept a pass, and you launch a rapid vertical counterattack.
If Gvardiol and Stanisic are caught high up the pitch,
Modric and the central core simply lack the lateral recovery speed to sprint backwards to stop the transition. They're incredibly susceptible to fast breaks.
I was thinking about this while going through their player profiles, and it made me think of a classic vintage sports car.
Okay, I like this.
Stay with me here. It's absolutely beautiful to look at. The engineering is pristine. The engine purrs beautifully when you have it in the right gear, cruising down the highway at a steady 65 miles per hour.
Smooth sailing.
But you absolutely cannot redline it. If you try to drop it into a lower gear and floor it to 9,000 RPMs for an hour straight, the transmission will just completely shatter. You have to manage the gears perfectly. You have to manage the tempo.
That's a very apt way to look at it. The chassis is brilliant, but the mileage is incredibly high. And the existential question for Zlatko Dalic is, how do you keep a vintage machine running in a modern high-speed race where everyone else is driving a modern hypercar?
Well, to stretch the metaphor,
Okay.
you swap in some cutting-edge, brand-new parts.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the actual 26-man roster construction for this World Cup. When you look at the names Dalic has selected, it is this fascinating, almost extreme blend. It's the old guard we all know and respect, married to a brand new wave of talent.
This is a real transition phase for them.
Let's look at the indispensable veterans first, because they are the foundation everything is built on. We have to start with Luka Modric, 198 caps. This is his 5th World Cup.
A living legend.
There is a note in the injury reports about him suffering a cheekbone fracture recently, but he is fully confirmed for the squad. What I find really interesting from the tactical breakdowns is how Dalic is using him at this stage of his career. To save Modric's energy, he's transitioned him away from a box-to-box role into a pure number 10 role.
That tactical tweak is essential for his survival in this tournament.
By pushing Modric higher up the pitch.
Operating just behind the striker, yeah. Dalic removes the requirement for Modric to do grueling 60-yard defensive recovery sprints. He is allowed to float, find pockets of space, and serve as the creative brain of the team without burning out his legs in defensive duels.
That makes total sense.
But here is the crucial mechanic. The only reason Modric can afford to play higher up and neglect some defensive duties is because of the second indispensable veteran behind him, Mateo Kovacic.
Right, the Manchester City man, 113 caps. I was reading some analysis that suggested Kovacic might actually be the most important player on the team right now, purely from a structural standpoint.
Structurally, he absolutely is. He is the actual linchpin of this entire possession system. Going back to what we discussed about press resistance, Kovacic is one of the best in the world at it.
He just glides past people.
His ability to take the ball from his defenders while under immense pressure from two attackers, shield it, and use his low center of gravity to carry it through the first line of defense is what makes the whole structure work.
He is the bridge between the defense and Modric.
Exactly. If Kovacic is absent due to injury, or if he is just having an off day, analysts explicitly note that the entire Croatian structure collapses. The ball just can't get from the defense to the attackers cleanly.
And Dalic is often forced to abandon his preferred 4-3-3 for a much more defensive, reactive setup in those cases.
Right, they lose their entire identity without him.
And rounding out the veteran core, we can't forget Ivan Perisic. 37 years old, currently playing his club football at PSV Eindhoven. If there's a Mount Rushmore of clutch tournament players in the modern era, his face is on it.
Oh, 100%.
He scored in World Cup semifinals. He scored in World Cup finals. When the lights are brightest, he delivers. But here's where it gets really interesting.
The young guys.
The youth movement.
Yeah.
We know the veterans, but Dalic is actively integrating teenagers and early 20-somethings into this squad who are going to be household names very, very soon.
They are the future and the present.
The absolute standout name in the scouting reports is Luka Vukovic. He is a 19-year-old breakout star who plays center back.
Vukovic's profile is extraordinary, and he offers them something they have desperately needed.
Which is?
Goals from set pieces. The data details his incredible debut campaign this past year on loan at Hamburg in the German Bundesliga, having come over from Tottenham Hotspur.
That's a tough league.
As a teenage central defender playing in one of the most physical leagues in Europe, he scored 6 goals and made the Bundesliga Team of the Year.
Wait, let's pause there. A 19-year-old central defender scoring 6 goals in a top European league is absurd. How is he doing that mechanically?
It's all about his presence in the box. He is a 6'4" physical powerhouse with an incredible vertical leap and aggressive timing.
Ah, so he just dominates the airspace.
Exactly. For a team like Croatia that, as we discussed, struggles to score from open play because they lack a dynamic striker, a defender who scores for fun from corner kicks and wide free kicks is a massive tactical weapon.
He transforms their set pieces from just a routine play into a highly lethal scoring opportunity.
He is exactly the threat they need to break deadlocks in tight tournament games.
And it's not just the defense getting an injection of youth. The midfield has fresh blood, too. You have Martin Batturina, a 23-year-old playing for Como in Italy. The reports say he brings creative, vertical passing.
Yeah, he actually looks to move the ball forward quickly rather than just recycling possession laterally.
Which they need. And then you have Petar Sucic, a 22-year-old from Inter Milan, who brings this high-energy, relentless ball-winning ability in the center of the park.
What's truly fascinating here is the synergy between the generations.
How do you mean?
Well, Dalic isn't just bringing these kids along for the ride so they can carry the luggage and gain experience for the 2030 World Cup. He needs them right now.
To do the running.
He desperately needs Sucic's physical engine to cover the ground that Kovacic and Modric no longer can. He needs Baturina's verticality to inject some urgency into their slow possession game.
So the young players have to do the physical, grueling running so that Modric and Kovacic can have the time and space to do the elite thinking.
It is a very delicate, mutually dependent ecosystem. If the kids don't run, the veterans get overrun. If the veterans don't orchestrate the tempo, the kids run themselves into the ground.
Wow. Okay, so we know their weapons, we know their physiological weaknesses, we know the exact delicate blend of the squad. Now let's look at the battlefield they are stepping onto. Group L.
It's going to be a bloodbath.
They are grouped with England, Panama, and Ghana. To provide some context on how the data analysts see this playing out, Opta's prediction model gives Croatia a 77.13% chance to reach the knockout stage.
Which is pretty high, all things considered.
It is. The betting markets have them at 103 odds to win the group outright. Interestingly, the sharp betting analysts suggest that playing Croatia to reach the quarterfinals is the smartest value bet you can make on them.
Rather than betting on them to win the whole tournament or expecting them to crash out early, that value bet perfectly reflects their pedigree and their known limitations. The analysts know that Croatia has the dark arts and the psychological resilience to grind through the round of 32 and the round of 16.
If a knockout match goes to extra time or penalties, you automatically favor Croatia.
Always. But the math suggests that winning the whole tournament, surviving 7 games with a 40-year-old playmaker and a 37-year-old winger, might be a bridge too far. The physical toll is just too great.
And practically speaking, their fate in the tournament and whether they get a favorable knockout draw will likely be decided on match day 1, June 17th, Dallas, Texas, AT&T Stadium, England versus Croatia.
The ultimate test right out of the gate.
England is the massive, overwhelming favorite to win the group at 49 odds. Thomas Tuchel took over as their manager, and he has them playing incredibly structured, ruthless football.
They are a machine right now.
Look at England's qualifying record for this tournament. They won all 8 matches, they scored 22 goals, and they didn't concede a single goal. Let me repeat that for you. 0 goals against in 8 matches.
That is just terrifying efficiency.
But of course, the history between these two nations is incredibly rich and full of narrative. We have to remind you of that historic 2018 World Cup semifinal in Moscow, where Croatia came from behind to win 2-1 in extra time and absolutely broke English hearts.
That psychological history matters immensely. The English media will be talking about revenge nonstop.
Oh, they already are.
England will want to bury the ghost of 2018, and Croatia walks into the stadium knowing, inherently, that they can beat this team when it matters most.
Tactically, this matchup is a fascinating clash of styles. Based on the data, Croatia will likely set up in a deep, highly compact defensive block.
Their goal won't be to dominate possession against England. Their goal will be spatial containment.
Meaning what exactly? Denying space between the defensive and midfield lines.
Exactly. They will aim to frustrate Jude Bellingham, ensuring he doesn't have space to turn and run at the defense. They will look to cut off the passing lanes to Harry Kane, completely denying him service.
So they just absorb the pressure.
They will try to survive that initial wave of English physical pressure and intensity. Their goal will be to slow the tempo down to an absolute crawl, make the game ugly, draw fouls, and then look to exploit set pieces.
Aiming for that teenage phenomenon Vuskovic in the box.
You got it.
Knowing that England is such a heavy favorite and knowing that Croatia is an aging team about to play in the sweltering Texas heat, I have a question about tournament strategy.
Okay, shoot.
Does Croatia even need to try and win this opening game? Or is setting up for a gritty, cynical, tactical 0-0 or 1-1 draw actually a masterstroke for Zlatko Dalic?
From a strategic macro tournament perspective, securing a draw in that opening match is an absolute masterstroke.
Really?
Yes. If you look at the format of the modern World Cup group stage, you do not need to win every game to advance. The primary goal is progression, not perfection.
That's a great way to put it.
If Croatia secures a single point against the group favorites in England, they preserve their physical energy. They take massive psychological pressure off themselves for the final 2 games, which present entirely different tactical challenges.
Right, because match 2 is against Panama on June 23rd up in Toronto, and match 3 is against Ghana on June 27th in Philadelphia. The analyses categorize these as absolute must-win games for Croatia if they want to advance.
And they should be heavily favored in both.
Let's look at the opponents. Panama is a massive underdog in this tournament, sitting at 5-1 odds just to win the group. Just for context on the talent gap, the last time Panama played England at a World Cup back in 2018, they lost 6-1.
It was a rout.
Ghana, meanwhile, is an incredibly talented squad with players in top European leagues, but structurally, they have struggled on the big stage. They have failed to get out of the group stage in back-to-back World Cups in 2014 and 2022.
And this is exactly where Croatia's pure technical quality and tactical discipline will shine.
Because they won't get drawn into chaos.
Right. You might look at some underlying metrics that suggest Croatia was somewhat unlucky or struggled slightly in their brief 2024 Euro campaign. But you have to look at their qualification record for this specific 2026 tournament.
It was completely dominant.
7 wins, 1 draw, 0 losses, with 26 goals scored and only 4 conceded.
Wow.
Against teams like Panama and Ghana, who may lack elite 90-minute tactical discipline and might try to press them aggressively out of eagerness, Croatia's midfield metronomes will just take total control.
So against those teams, that possession as defense strategy becomes possession as a weapon.
Exactly. They will dictate possession, create those short passing triangles, and intentionally pull the Panamanian or Ghanaian defensive blocks completely out of shape. They will methodically dismantle them.
Just pick them apart.
Croatia has the veteran experience to ensure they don't drop silly points or get caught in chaotic transition games against opponents they are heavily favored to beat. They know how to professionalize those 90 minutes.
It is going to be a fascinating group to watch unfold, just to see if the old guard has one last run in them.
I wouldn't bet against it.
To quickly recap our journey today for you listening, we've looked at the fiery, unbreakable Vatreni cultural spirit that has turned them into the undisputed penalty shootout kings of the world.
The psychology is just as important as the tactics.
We've explored the mechanics of their brilliant but rapidly aging midfield metronomes, Kovacic and Modric, who use press resistance and possession as a vital survival tactic.
Slowing the game down to protect their legs.
We've seen the exciting, necessary integration of breakout teenagers like Luka Vujovic to provide the physical engine and set-piece threat the veterans desperately need. And we've previewed the looming heavyweight tactical battle in Group L against a flawless English side.
It's all teeing up to be an incredible story.
So what does this all mean for the listener sitting down to watch the tournament?
Well, if there's one final thought to leave you with, it's a look at the broader narrative surrounding this team. Right now, sitting at 901 outright odds to win the whole tournament, the global betting markets, the statistical models, and the footballing world at large are heavily betting against Croatia lifting the trophy.
The numbers just don't support it.
The cold hard math says they are simply too old, too slow in transition, and lacking the lethal dynamic striker required to win 7 consecutive matches. But given their entire history of thriving, when they are cast as the overlooked underdog, their absolute ice-cold mastery of the penalty shootout, and the sheer emotional gravity of this being Luka Modric's final international bow, is it possible the football world is making the exact same mistake and underestimating the Kakasti one last time?
It wouldn't be the first time.
When you tune in, watch very closely how they manage their energy, how they manipulate the tempo in that first game of the Dallas Heat against England. Those first 90 minutes will tell you everything you need to know about their fate in this tournament.
Will the vintage sports car blow its transmission trying to keep up with the hypercars, or will it perfectly manage the gears and cruise right past the checkered flag? Thank you so much for coming on this deep dive into the 2026 Croatian squad with us.
It's been a pleasure.
Keep a very close eye on Group L over this next few weeks. Until next time.